Hello and welcome to Let's Play Old Games, and welcome to my review of the Assassin's Creed Chronicles Trilogy. Now these are a set of 3 Assassin's Creed games, sort of mini games. These are 2.5D side scrollers. They are set in 3 different locations. One is set in China, India and Russia. Now a brief background about these games. In Assassin's Creed 2, when Assassin's Creed 2 Revelations was released, they released a short animated movie with the game that was called Assassin's Creed Embers. And in that, a Chinese assassin named Xiao Jun goes and visits an old Ezio after he's done with his assassin days. And they sort of interact, and Ezio gives her a precursor artifact, a box. It doesn't explain what it is, and she leaves with that. So the whole premise of the Chronicles games is that box and what happens with it. The first game in the series is set in China. You play as Xiao Jun, who is one of the few remaining assassins, because the assassin brotherhood in China has been almost wiped out by the Templars. So as usual, you fight against the Templars and you are an assassin, so nothing new there. The main appeal of these games are the art style, in my opinion. These are what you call the 2.5D type games. These games, unlike the main games, they focus more on stealth. The way these games work is you are awarded points on your style of gameplay. The style is divided into 3 types. One is Shadow, one is Assassin, and one is a Brawler. In Shadow, you basically complete the level or part of the level without being noticed, without anybody finding out about your presence. So you don't alert guards, you're not seen any time, and you complete the whole segment unnoticed. That is the highest sort of rating, and you get gold, silver and bronze in each of the 3 categories. Assassin obviously means you assassinate everyone or a few people, and you do it cleanly. And then you have Brawler, where you just basically start fighting with everyone. The story is nothing great, if I'm honest, and the combat, as I said before, is stealth based. Now Xiao Jun has a few tricks that are sort of new here. She uses a rope dart for killing her enemies and also for climbing. And unlike the previous assassins, she doesn't carry hidden blades in her forearms. She has a hidden blade in her shoe. Now throughout the game, you visit some interesting sort of Chinese landmarks. You visit the Forbidden City, you go to the Great Wall, and it's the typical Assassin versus Templar story. There are a few running segments as well here, where you are given a certain time and you have to complete those segments within that, and you get a rating based on how quickly you can do that. And the points you collect in each level, you can use that to upgrade your skills, you increase your health, etc. So that is the first game, China. The second game is set in India during the British rule. I think it's set in 1843. You play as Arbaz Mir. Now, in this game, our assassin is sort of more interested in his lover. He is in love with a princess, and so the assassin part seems to be like a secondary thing to him. He's more interested in his personal love story. As far as gameplay is concerned, it is very similar, although I felt that the Indian assassin was a bit weaker in combat compared to Xiao Jun. I mean, these games are more focused on stealth rather than the all-out combat you had in the main Assassin's Creed games. So if you play this like you did the other games, you will struggle. You have to focus more on stealth, hide the bodies and quietly, silently take down your enemies. So if you play it accordingly, then you can play it properly. But if you go all out, you will struggle badly. And in that aspect, the Indian assassin felt worse than Xiao Jun, to me at least. He felt a bit weak. He could die very easily. Visually, this looks much better. I mean, the China game looked very nice as well, but here there was a lot more color and a lot more greenery and different locations as well. Similarly, you followed the same concept. You went through several places following that box I mentioned earlier. And you visit Afghanistan briefly. They also have a few precursor sites in here, sort of similar to what you had in Black Flag, for example. So they had a similar look, but in 2D. Also, it contains the running segments as usual, and so it's more of the same. And finally, the third game is set in Russia during the revolution in 1918. And this one was a bit different. The art style here is more sort of gray and white and with the red shades. They went a bit different with the style, a bit more cel shaded, if that makes sense. And our assassin is a bit older. He's also a bit wary and disillusioned with the whole assassin lifestyle. And the story is that he is sort of fed up with all of this and he just wants to take one last job, have some money, collect the money from that job, and buy papers for his wife and daughter and leave for America. So he just takes on one last job just to collect some money. And it is a bit different, but somehow I like this one quite a bit as well. The story was a bit more personal. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but this was a little different than the usual assassin versus Templars. I mean, you still have to kill Templars and do the rest, but there was a bit of a twist here as well. Also, you play as a secondary character as well in this game. I won't give too much details, but that was an unexpected part of it. And I like this as well. The gameplay was similar. You have a bit more innovation because now you are in the 20th century. So our assassin carries a rifle with him, a sniper rifle. There are a few segments where you shoot, but it also has a similar formula where you have to go stealthily, and there are also a few running segments here as well. So overall, similar games set in different locations. Now, out of the three games, the Indian version looked the most beautiful, stunning visually. Overall, I felt the Chinese game had the best sort of Assassin's Creed feel about it, and the Russian game looked a bit more innovative and had slightly more different ideas going. Out of the three assassins, I like the Chinese assassin Xiaojun and the Russian assassin Nikolai. I did not care much for the Indian assassin because he just did not come across as very likable for some reason. And as an Indian myself, maybe I noticed a few things that others might not. For example, the guy they used who did the voice for the assassin, he was clearly not an Indian guy. So he was a British guy, British Asian probably. And he was struggling to pronounce some of the names. And that sort of gives you the idea that it doesn't come across as very authentic, if that makes sense. It may be the same story for the other two. I don't know. Maybe some Russians or Chinese people can tell me that, but at least I noticed that with the Indian one. Also, his story seemed like the assassin part seemed irrelevant to him. He was more interested in his love story. And yeah, so the three assassins, I liked the two. I did not like the Indian one. The stories, as I said, the Chinese one was that sort of typical assassin story. The Indian one had a bit of sidetracking with the love story, and the Russian one was the more personal one, the most personal in all the three games, and it was also the best in my opinion. So now I'll give you my verdict or score. I don't want to give a normal number score because it's a bit difficult to express how good the game is. So first up, who is this game for? Now, if you are a die-hard Assassin's Creed fan, then definitely this is for you. Also, this also has the appeal that if you're not an Assassin's Creed fan and you just want a light 2D game to check out what this is, then you'll also like this. If you like games like Mark of the Ninja, for example, this game does borrow heavily from that game, these games. So if you like that game, you might be interested in this. And generally, if you like side-scrollers, 2D type games, you may like this. It is very visually nice looking and it's easy enough as it is. So it's a nice little distraction if you want some more Assassin's Creed games. Consider this if you are interested in these sort of smaller games. And now for the verdict, I would say instead of giving a score, I'll compare the prices and I'll tell you how much I think they are worth, in my opinion. These games retail each for $9.99. I feel that's a bit too high for these games for what they are. Now, obviously, they are fairly recent games. The Chinese game came out in 2015, mid 2015, and the Russian and Indian games came out early 2016, January and February, I believe. So they are a bit more recent, so hence the price is also a bit on the high side. For what they are, I think $9.99 is a bit too much. Historically on Steam, the lowest these have gone is $4.99, and I think that is a more reasonable price for all these games. I would ideally like it to be around that or even lower if possible. And for the combined trilogy, I would like to spend under $15, so $12, $13 would be ideal. Now, how long are these games? Depending on the difficulty level you play, obviously the first time you'll have to play it on the normal difficulty, then it unlocks the game plus mode, etc. So between 5 to 7 hours is what I would say for each of the 3 games, unless you want to play it really well and do it stealthily, then it might take a little longer, but I would say 15 to 20 hours for the 3 games combined is what you can expect. So like I said, get it if it's 5 or under, and try not to spend more than 15 for the entire trilogy, and buy it if you are a big Assassin's Creed fan. So that is my verdict for Assassin's Creed Chronicles. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit because I am a fan of the Assassin's Creed games, but they were nothing special for sort of non-Assassin's Creed fans. So hopefully you liked my review, and you can check out my Let's Play. I've done a Let's Play for all 3 of these games. What you could do is you could check like the first level or the first video in each of these games to get a feel of the game, see what it is and how it looks, and decide if you want to buy it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.